Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk, and welcome once again to another crazy edition of my college conference realignments. And this is just another a plausible scenario, different universe, different Earth. Depending if you're part of the DC or Marvel, those areas that have the different, the multiverse sagas and whatnot. Uh, And this is going to sound familiar to a couple of other videos I've already done before. Now remember, I've done videos dealing with all conferences being 10 members, 12 members, 16, and even mega conferences, and revisited that one as well. So it's kind of an iteration of all of those. And I want to go back to a simpler time of conferences where they actually made more sense than what they do now. Now, conferences are not originalized anymore. They now become a national brand and making huge sums of money off of that national brand by a few key schools within that conference that have a national recognition, which is fine because that helps you recruit for recruitment purposes. You don't just have to recruit in your area. Say, The Ohio State University doesn't have to concentrate in Ohio. Now they can go across the nation because they are a nationally recognized brand for football. They can go out to LA, go down to Texas, go down to Florida, Alabama, New York City, Seattle, Fargo, North Dakota, and be able to pull talent. For me, for college football, I'm more traditionalist when it comes to that one. I like the more regionalized aspect of these conferences. That's why a lot of them were built in the first place, because they were close by. They all had a similar mindset, and they just able to naturally form and create these brands. That's why we have the Big Ten. That's why you had the SEC, the ACC, the Big Eight, the Southwest, the Pac-8, Pac-10, the MAC. These conferences were built on regionalized camaraderie and save money on travel. As we all know, traveling across the country is not cheap. Wasn't then, definitely is not now. We haven't found a way to teleport us across the country in just a matter of milliseconds. We have to take, train, plane, or automobiles to get across. But in this sampling of my crazy mind of how it works, maybe because I'm getting too old, of getting back to conferences, back to the roots. Now, I looked at the current landscape of the college football landscape. How the Big Ten's at 18, the Big 12's at 16, ACC technically at 18, but only have 17 for football. SEC 16. You have the Pac-2. So you have all these Power 5 conferences, even though the Pac you probably just take off. They're just going to be power schools. But beyond that, I streamlined it. I took it down to 4. And you'll see that with the group down to 4. But there's 9 conferences. You'll see why I did this in a minute. Each conference will have 16 members. Ideally, I like the 14 member because you do a 3-5-5 take. This is what the ACC was planning on doing with their setup when they're staying at 14, which allows you to keep 3 key rivalry games every year, and you rotate the other schools every other year, which still maintain those rivalries because you take on schools enough times to really build that animosity, which is great for college football. And this is something I want to see in the new college football game coming from EA Sports. That's right, long overdue. Schools are lining up to be added to it. The letters went out to the student athletes. They want their images and likeness on these games. They will get paid for it, which they should, because EA will make a killing off this game if it's done correctly. If you're able to reshuffle the conferences like he did in the last iteration. That copy I can no longer play. It got scratched up pretty dang good. I don't know why. Plus, it was used when I got it because my other copy didn't work either. Or no, I didn't have that copy. Or something crazy like that. It was, anyways. So I'm hoping the new college football, I think it's 25, will have this feature as well, where you're able to create, redo the conferences and do what NHL 23 has done. Kind of do custom leagues. You need to add teams if you want, or just redo everything. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and just dive in this one. Like I said, a lot of this will look familiar to some of the other videos I did. Just better graphics, I think. Better representation of where programs are at, and you can definitely see how close all of them are. And we'll start off with the conference I was actually born into, and that's the Big Ten. For the most part, the Big Ten does not change. The core of the Big Ten still remains. The only thing you will not see is anything west of Nebraska, so no West Coast, and nothing east of Ohio State, so no East Coast. We keep it with that Midwest / Upper Plains region. So you still have Ohio State, Michigan State, Indiana, Purdue, Illinois, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. Still keep Nebraska in this conference. Bring in Notre Dame. Notre Dame has been courted by the Big Ten many, many times. Notre Dame has recently blocked it. Beforehand, Michigan blocked it. But when Michigan got kicked out, that was the time frame Notre Dame should have went in. They didn't take the opportunity. Michigan came back in. And Notre Dame's ever since stayed out. I've always said it, and I've said this many, many times before in other videos, Notre Dame belongs in the Big Ten. Not the Big East, not the ACC, the Big Ten. Off my soapbox. I'll also bring over from the old Big 8 / Big 12, Iowa State, Kansas State, and from the SEC, Mizzou, who thought they were going when Nebraska got added. Now, all these programs, with the exception of 3, are AAU members. Iowa State withdrew, Nebraska got kicked out, and K-State never was. Take away the AAU requirement for the Big Ten, and this is the conference I would like to see. Very quick and simple setup. SEC, you're not going to see much difference for what it is now. The only exception is no Mizzou. So who you place Mizzou with? Bedlam. You bring in Oklahoma State. Now I know there's going to be people out there who's like, why are you going to bring in another Oklahoma program? You already have OU. Yeah, why you bring in UT when you already have A&M for Texas? Bring another big-time rivalry into the conference, another program out west, which actually makes sense. In all, I don't really see an issue with this conference whatsoever. Now, could they gone with like a Clemson or Florida State? Absolutely. Clemson has a lot of history of these programs from the old days of the Southern Conference. But to keep things nice and simple, just add Oklahoma State to Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Arkansas, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Auburn, Bama, Vandy, Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. The Pokies were the best fit, in my opinion. Now the SEC, yeah, just wrap your head around this map, because this one, unfortunately, can't be completely regionalized in the sense like the SEC, somewhat is, the Big Ten, somewhat is. It's like grouped together. It's all relatively the same distance. This is the entire East Coast. You're going from Boston to Miami. So that's a huge chunk. So I had to separate the map so that we could see the locations and see a little bit of overlay a little bit. Most of the ACC you still see in here. It's like BC, Syracuse, Pitt, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Wake, NC State, Duke, UNC, Clemson, Georgia Tech, FSU, and the U of Miami. They all stayed. The thing you get rid of is those west of Pittsburgh, basically. So there's no Louisville, there's no Notre Dame, there's no SMU, there's no California. Instead, you bring in Penn State and Maryland from the Big Ten, actually bring Maryland back into the ACC, the founding member, mind you. You bring in West Virginia. West Virginia should have been in this conference a long time ago. They should have been ahead of Louisville. I understand there's like academics things that got in the way. But all in all, I think it's a well balanced. You still have a good mixture of blue bloods in here with Penn State, Florida State, and Miami. Resurrect a lot of rivalries. You know, the Backyard Brawls, now conference game, the Black Diamond game between West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Maryland's. But as you look at this map, you look at the left side as I'm staring at it, or part as you're staring at it as well. You see Wake and NC State. You see that cluster in North Carolina. That's the research triangle. NC State, Duke, and North Carolina. Pretty much, they can spit on each other. That's how close they are. So you can look on the other side. We see the Florida programs. You'll see the UNC and Duke to represent the rest of that. Duke is the one that marker in the middle. But this is ACC. I think this one's probably the easiest one. This one is also part of the longest stretch going from Boston to Miami, but there will be others that have a longer distance, though. Don't worry. Then bring back the pack, but pretty much resurrect the pack, bring everyone back in there that's supposed to be in there, and then add a few others, BYU, Texas Tech, Baylor, and TCU. I understand that the three Texas programs really have nothing to do with the Pacific. I get that. But there was one point in time when the PAC was looking at add Texas programs to their conference. They were actually looking to add Texas, A&M, Oklahoma State. They were going to go hard, especially when they had the troubles with the Big 12. They were going to go hard in snagging teams from the Big 12. They were only able to get Colorado, because once Texas was able to get to 8-8, work out a deal with the Big 12 that collapsed everything else, Colorado goes, you know what, we'll go. And Texas Tech and Arizona actually have a history before. They were once in another conference. I think it was a border conference. Same thing with Colorado, so they have history there. BYU and TCU. BYU should have been added before Colorado, in my opinion. But take away, the mindset of the presidents of the PAC and go where it makes the most sense. Now, if you look through these Power Four, you realize there's quite a few programs that are missing. That's Louisville, Rutgers, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and SMU. All these are all programs that now considered Power 5 programs or in power conferences. They're not in this one. This is going to be in my Midway Conference, the American. You'll see these programs show up. Also, other former programs that were in Power Conference, like UConn, Temple, and South Florida, were once in the Big East. They were once a BCS conference. Tulane, a founding member of the SEC. Rice, one of the last members of the Southwest Conference. So definitely throw those guys all in the same conference and then fill it in with Tulsa and Memphis. I think Memphis is like the next one everyone keeps looking at. They always get overlooked, especially being right there in the middle of the country. Why they're not at it, I don't know. They're definitely getting the funds for their stadium upgrade. And I debated long and hard for the rest of this with myself, losing a lot of times. I'm trying to figure out where to go. I really want to put East Carolina in here. I really did. Tulsa was also high on the list as well. But I kept those two in. Then what do I do with the service academies? And the service academies have their own little special place as well. And do I keep Navy and Army with the American and leave Air Force out, which I think is wrong. If you're going to classify this as a mid-major or middle ground conference, It's either all or none, in my opinion. My dog agrees if you hear that. But that thing was also to bring in Army, Navy, and Air Force in this conference. And so who's going to be that last member? That was Tulsa. Now, you'll see, wait a minute, there's more than just those programs there. That's right. UConn, Army, and Navy will maintain a football-only presence. UConn will stay in the Big East. Army and Navy will stay in the Patriot. Air Force will become a full-blown member. So the backfill, Wichita State, slides over. To fill it up, I'll go ahead and grab St. Louis from the A10. St. Louis has a long history, a lot of these programs, especially Cincinnati, Louisville, Memphis, Tulane, Houston. They're all in the old initial Conference USA. On the East Coast, and I went Virginia Commonwealth. Bring the Rams over, gives you another team out on the East Coast for Temple and Rutgers, because there are only two out there, so you give them a third one. I think it makes sense. I know there's a couple other markets you really want to look at, like Charlotte and Atlanta, but who you want to pull from those areas? So there's a few here and there that you can probably throw in there, but this is just one direction. Like I said, these scenarios have multiples. This is just my particular one, but this is what I would call the halfway. This is a little bit of the power, a little bit of the group higher echelon, should I say, and it's a very interesting conference because a lot of these programs have a history with each other. A lot of history. Now, the first of the group is the Mountain West. Not much really changes. San Jose State, Fresno State, San Jose State, Boise State, Nevada, UNLV, Utah State, Wyoming, Colorado State, and New Mexico. From Conference USA, New Mexico State, UTEP. And then from the Big Sky, Montana, Montana State, and Sacramento State. Now, bring New Mexico State and UTEP in there, I think it could be a stretch. Both programs have had relative success the recent couple of years. So wouldn't be a big downgrade. Losing Air Force here wouldn't really hurt, but adding the Montanas definitely changes that. Especially New Mexico State and UTEP have rivalry games with New Mexico. Now they're on conference games. UTEP has a very familiarity with a lot of these programs. Montana and Montana State have a lot of familiarity. So has Sacramento State with a lot of these other programs, because some of these programs started back in the Big Sky before they landed in the Mountain West. And Hawaii's only here for football, mind you. So that's 15 basketball, and I went aggressive basketball-wise. I went ahead and grabbed from the WAC Seattle, Grand Canyon, and Utah Valley to give them 18 members in basketball. I know it's a bit of a stretch. I think Grand Canyon and Seattle, I think, probably the top two targets if they're going to ever add a non-football program. Gonzaga is another interesting one to look at, but I think Gonzaga wants something a little bit bigger. I mean, if they can get into my new pack, they will probably jump on that bandwagon quick, fast, in a hurry. I doubt that though, but I think that's where they want to go. They want to go to a bigger conference. That'd be the one that they'll probably end up going to. But I didn't put Gonzaga in here. I probably would put the Zags over Utah Valley, but I didn't. So there. The MAC. This is another interesting one. The MAC. There are 12 schools. No one leaves. They're all the same 12. And you see right there, pretty much that Michigan, Ohio area, with Akron, Kent State, Ohio, Miami, Bowling Green, Toledo, Eastern Central, Western Michigans, Ball State, Northern Illinois, and Buffalo. Brought back UMass as a football-only program. I know they already had one stint there. Didn't really work out too well. UMass was a much of a threat to the MAC elite. But UMass needs a conference. They need a regular schedule. Otherwise, they must go back down to the FCS and go back to the Coastal. That's just my personal opinion. Here, I put in Delaware. Now, Delaware, I think, is a fish out of water, especially in UMass. And Delaware here would be a full member. And I don't think they really fit here. But it had to put them somewhere. I originally had in the Sun Belt, and that means another different program had to jump up here. So I wrestled trying to figure out who else is going to come in here. I picked Delaware. Someone had to come into. It gives Buffalo somewhat a program. Another program on the East Coast for them. I'm not really that close. And then also brought in North Dakota State, South Dakota State. These two programs have been running amok in the FCS level, especially North Dakota State. They've been dominant for so long. Now, South Dakota State is starting to take that charge. And why these two are not in the FBS by now, I have no idea. And I think it makes sense. I know a lot of people want to put these two in the Mountain West. I put them here. These programs, I think, are a little bit more closer, and they could definitely dominate, especially with Delaware. Those would be the big three in this conference once to become eligible in the conference. And to even that out, for basketball purposes, I brought in Northern Kentucky from the horizon. The MAC has sniffed the possibility, or floated the possibility of heading south. I mean, they did it already with Marshall and then UCF. But they've been toying with the idea. I think Eastern Kentucky's been on the radar for a program. So them going after Northern Kentucky is not a big stretch. Plus, it's right outside Louisville, good market as well. And then to be natural rivals with Miami, who's on the other side of Cincinnati. So close proximity. I think this would actually work out for everyone involved. And then the Sun Belt. Yeah, there's another one, conference map that kind of got skewed a bit. Kind of stick Florida by himself, and you don't see a portion of the peninsula. I try to figure where you'd be able to see everyone's location and kind of see how things kind of play out, especially the locations of the cities and how close these programs can really are. So you really have to blow things up. But the Sun Belt in the next conference and following this is a combination of the Sun Belt Conference USA and the remnants of the American. All kind of merged and split into two. In the Sun Belt, Sun Belt name, it's all the Sun Belt East program. So Marshall, James Madison, Old Dominion, Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, Georgia State. Then you bring over from the American, East Carolina, Charlotte, FAU, from Conference USA, FIU, Liberty, Kennesaw State, and Jacksonville State. You see a lot of pretty good programs. And then plucking from the FCS, Eastern Kentucky and Chattanooga. Chattanooga's been a target of the Sun Belt for a long time as well. Chattanooga keeps, no, not yet. It's not you, it's me. Perhaps the Sun Belt's turned into a stalker right now when it comes to Chattanooga. But I think this would get the Sun Belt back into Tennessee, back into Kentucky. Then you look right there, Chattanooga is really close to Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State, Georgia State, so there's going to be a natural rivalry between those four. Eastern Kentucky and Marshall, pretty damn close as well. They can definitely, continue their rivalry. Marshall and East Carolina have a rivalry. So looking at this one, you look at this conference, like a lot of these states got tripled up with Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, each one with 3 representatives, Florida with 2, but all around that Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. And I really think this one could really work out. I mean, some stalwarts from the old FCS days of James Madison, Appalachian State, Georgia Southern, Kennesaw State has been very successful the past 5 years at the FCS level. Jacksonville State. So this will be a very good program. Some people want, East Carolina fans, probably look, well, this is a downgrade. We got to think East Carolina should be in the Southern Conference. Most of these schools come from the Southern Conference, and they've had history with these programs as well. So it's not a stretch to associate them all like this. I get East Carolina fans' reluctance to really accept this one. Unfortunately, they kind of got left out to being the American, unless the American becomes a super beast, and I didn't want to do that. Like I said, the conferences were kept at 16 football, easier to schedule games that way for longevity. And it is what it is. And the last conference in this scenario we're going to talk about is the rest of the conundrum of that merge and split of Sun Belt Conference USA American programs. This is resurrecting an old Division II name, the Gulf Star Conference. The Gulf Star Conference was a short-lived conference from 84 to 87. Didn't last very long, but it is the starting home of Texas State, Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston, and Louisiana. Not to mention Nickel State, Northwestern State as well. And pretty much most of these guys are going to the Southland and then moving on to other things such as the WAC and Sunbelt. So they have history with each other. So from the Sunbelt, you'll have Troy, South Alabama, Southern Miss, Arkansas State, Louisiana Monroe, Louisiana, and Texas State. From UTS or the American UTSA, North Texas, UAB, Conference USA, Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech, and Sam Houston. And then getting called up from the FCS, Central Arkansas. Now, no UTSA, UAB, North Texas fans kind of think this is a downgrade. But you looked at what Troy and South Florida has done, South Alabama has done recently. Louisiana's had really good programs. Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky, not really pushovers. Arkansas State, Louisiana Tech has some decent years. So, UTSA fans, I might get that aspect. This is a kind of a downgrade because look what they've done, and they've done extremely well. I mean, going to 3 straight conference championship games in 2 different conferences, winning 2 of them is a good feat. UTSA fans will probably want the Roadrunners to stay in the American to battle with other power conference or power schools from the power conferences that kind of got left out and stake their claim, especially being in San Antonio, a decent sized medium market. I get that. I do. There had to be cut off somewhere, and someone's not going to be happy. Plain and simple. But UTSA have a rivalry with Texas State. I-35 showdown. I mean, it's more one-sided recently because of UTSA and how they've been able to build that program now compared to Texas State. But last year it was a close game between those two. And when I predicted that game, I said the Roadrunners will end up winning, but I wouldn't be surprised if Texas State made it close. It could upset them, and they made it close. So I'm just trying, keep things going. But Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky have that huge 1,000-mile hate. Middle Tennessee, Troy have a rivalry. Southern Miss, Louisiana Tech, Arkansas State, North Texas. I mean, there's a lot of intertwined matchups. Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston. When Sam Houston got called up, Stephen F. Austin got left behind, and that just broke up their love-hate relationship. But looking at this, I think this is a good generalized, localized conference as well. Yeah, I know Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee is a little bit out of their purview per se. You could probably throw in Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State in here to kind of help, kind of maybe balance out the aspect. So you could put, like I said, Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State in here and put Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee over into the Sun Belt. I can see that. Like I said, you've probably seen some of these takes and other videos I've done. Like I said, the 16, I think the 16 version of the Big Ten was the one I have here. Makes the most perfect sense. So a lot of these are kind of regurgitated from that, tweaked up a little bit. And, this is just one opinion, one possible scenario. You can take this one and split it off in like different areas. I've already mentioned that a couple times, especially between a couple programs between the Sun Belt and the Gulf Star. You can switch up, maybe make a little bit more sense, like Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State going to the Gulf Star with Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee going to the Sun Belt. I mean, that could definitely be a thing. I would not doubt that whatsoever. I understand some programs in the Sun Belt and Gulf Star being down there. Some of them might not like that. However, they got left off the carbon floor. And I think East Carolina has more of a case than any of them. That's just my opinion. Y'all have yours. Just leave them down below. Be civilized. I mean, great interaction with everyone dealing with this. I mean, it helps promote this video out. Helps the YouTube algorithm. We all praise and worship the algorithm. They give us what we need. Sometimes not what we need. Or it tells you, this guy will watch anything. Well, once you're down there, you like what I do, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. It really helps me out. You also subscribe. A lot of you guys are not subscribed. It doesn't cost you anything. All you need to do is click that subscribe button. Click that bell icon. And turn on notifications so next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.